Details about a violent encounter in North Philadelphia continues to unravel as we hear the frantic dispatch calls regarding an officer's shot. 24 hours later, that officer remains in the hospital recovering. Saturday night, I'm Walter Perez. The big story in Action News is still developing at this hour. We've learned investigators are looking for a second person in connection with the officer-involved shooting that happened last night.
Right now, Philadelphia police say they're still searching for the man who ran away with the suspect's gun. Meanwhile, they say the officer who was shot is a 9-year veteran of the department and remains in the hospital tonight. A Philadelphia police officer's urgent call for help around 8:45 Friday night.
I need to right now.
Police say the shooting happened inside Jennifer Tavern on the corner of Mascher and Cambria Streets in North Philadelphia. Police say 2 officers attempted to stop 28-year-old Alexander Spencer in the store. A scuffle ensued, and Spencer shot an officer in the leg. The officer's partner returned fire, striking Spencer, who was pronounced dead at the hospital. Court documents show back in November, Spencer was sentenced to 6 months of probation for possessing an instrument of crime with an intent to use it. As for the officer, police say fortunately he's in stable condition. At an event Saturday afternoon, Mayor Sherelle Parker paused to highlight his bravery.
I want us all to take a minute to lift up the Philadelphia police officer who was shot in the line of duty. We also need to send a very strong message to every man and woman who puts on a uniform on behalf of the city of Philadelphia, especially when they make our public health and safety their #1 priority. They've got to know we have their back.
I am proud of the men and women who work for me. I am proud of the fact that they go into these areas and they fight this battle each and every day.
Meanwhile, officers continue to search for the person of interest in this picture, who they say fled the store with Spencer's weapon. They warn the public he's armed and dangerous. So police say if you see the person of interest, do not approach him. Instead, call 911 immediately. Police also say the officer who shot the suspect is a 5-year veteran of the force and has been placed on administrative duty pending the outcome of the investigations.
A witness reported that a confrontation between police officers and a 28-year-old Alexander Spencer in the Fairhill section of Philadelphia led to Spencer's death and a police officer being shot. The incident began when officers, without apparent provocation, entered Jennifer Tavern and asked Spencer and others to lift their shirts, allegedly searching for weapons. Following a scuffle where officers attempted to search Spencer's jacket, shots were fired, resulting in Spencer being shot in the back while on the ground and an officer being injured. A viral video raised questions about the officers' use of force and their initial engagement with Spencer. The police maintain Spencer fired first, injuring the officers. Friends and community members describe Spencer as a positive figure in the neighborhood, working to improve his life and support local children. The incident has sparked discussions about police practices, particularly the use of stop and frisk in Philadelphia. Mayor Sherelle L. Parker expressed support for the police prior to the investigation's completion, while advocates call for transparency and a reevaluation of stop and frisk policies. This tragic event underscores tensions between law enforcement and community members, highlighting the need for accountability and trust-building efforts. Full video will be in a link in the description. Stop and frisk is a policing strategy where officers detain, question, and search individuals they suspect of criminal involvement, especially to find weapons or illegal items. This method is based on the notion that law enforcement has the right to ensure their safety and that of others by searching for weapons under certain conditions, provided they have reasonable suspicion that the individual poses a threat. The legal backing for stop and frisk in the U.S. originates from the 1968 Supreme Court ruling in Terry v. Ohio. This landmark decision allowed police to stop and interrogate someone without needing probable cause for arrest, as long as there's a reasonable suspicion that the person has engaged in or is about to engage in criminal activity. Additionally, the police are permitted to conduct a physical search for weapons if they believe the individual to be dangerous, aligning with the Fourth Amendment's safeguard against unreasonable searches and seizures. However, the application of stop and frisk has sparked considerable controversy, and legal challenges, primarily due to allegations of racial bias and infringement on civil liberties. Critics contend that the practice unfairly targets minorities, undermining confidence in the police. In July of 2022, in response to the city's ongoing gun violence crisis, leaders in Philadelphia City Council said it was time to re-examine the controversial police tactic known as stop and frisk. Quote, "We have a lot of citizens in the streets of Philadelphia talking about, when are we going to look at stop and frisk in a constitutionally enacted way?" said Council President Darrell L. Clark. "It needs a different name, right? Because the reality is that when you reference stop and frisk, it has a negative connotation," he said. "And the bottom line is, it should be a part of the policing strategy that's employed." Clark's suggestion to revisit the practice in which officers stop and sometimes search pedestrians or drivers over suspicious behavior drew a chilly reception from then Mayor Jim Kenney, who ran for office on a pledge to end illegal police stops. A lot of criticism came from defense attorneys as well as civil rights activists. The city's aggressive approach in the past has been criticized as racially biased and often legally groundless, it read in a Philadelphia Inquirer article from July of 2022. In my opinion, police reform would include the elimination of the controversial practice of stop and frisk. In March of 2020, NBC wrote an op-ed titled "Crime Dropped Under Stop and Frisk," which is worth remembering in the rush to criticize it. In the article, it argued that in 1991, under the leadership of Mayor David Dinkins, New York City initiated an expansion of its police department and implemented a community policing strategy that focused on foot patrol and addressing minor disturbances. 3 years later, with Rudy Giuliani as mayor, the city shifted its focus towards stop and frisk practices, where police officers would temporarily stop individuals they suspected of criminal activity to search them for weapons. Additionally, New York adopted a statistical crime analysis tool called CompStat, which aimed to concentrate law enforcement efforts on areas with high crime rates and enhance the accountability of police leadership. This approach was further upheld by Michael Bloomberg, who became mayor in 2002. This article that I'm referencing addresses the complex narrative surrounding the stop and frisk policy in New York City, highlighting its effectiveness in reducing crime rates despite contemporary criticisms of racial bias and unjustified practices. The article goes on to say that, introduced in response to a violent crime surge in the late 1980s, stop and frisk, along with other proactive policing methods like CompStat, significantly contributed to the decline in crime, particularly homicides related to firearms. Under the leadership of Mayor Dinkins, Giuliani, and Bloomberg, New York saw a dramatic reduction in its crime rates from the early 1990s to 2013, outpacing other major cities like Chicago and Philadelphia in improving public safety. Like I said earlier, critics argue the policy was rooted in racism and illegal tactics, and the supporters will point to the tangible benefits of reduced violent crime and the role of precise data-driven enforcement strategies. The debate continues, reflecting on the policy's legacy amid changing public priorities and crime trends. Opponents of stop and frisk say, American police officers have extraordinary power to work their will as they see fit. Local rules vary, but generally speaking, they can stop and frisk on a reasonable suspicion that you are armed and presently dangerous. They can stop and conduct a warrantless search of your vehicle with only probable cause that someone in the car or truck or van is committing a crime. The police have no obligation to either protect or assist you, even in the face of a credible threat to your life. And they are virtually immune to legal consequences for their own action under the doctrine of qualified immunity, with so few exceptions, like the almost immediate arrest of the offending officers accused of killing Tyree Nichols in Memphis, that it essentially proves the rule. What little accountability does exist for American police is easily subverted. Internal affairs departments are often more interested in exonerating colleagues than investigating misconduct, and police unions do everything they can to shield bad actors, attack critics, and secure more due process for cops accused of abuse than their victims will ever get, wrote Jamel Bowie in a 2023 New York Times article.
First, I want to acknowledge my officers who were involved in a difficult and life-threatening situation. Our officers were shot while attempting to disarm an individual with a weapon. That is a fact. It is illegal to carry a gun on the streets of Philadelphia. The individual decided to fight and did not give up that illegal gun. And so unlike the thousands of interactions we have on a daily basis across the city, last year we had almost 260 gun arrests where individuals working, we did make an arrest, we brought them to trial, but those individuals did not shoot our officers. So we will not lose sight of that fact. We'll release the name of the officer who was involved in the shooting later today, and that will come out of our office. We do want to thank Temple University and the doctors at Temple University for the care that they gave for our officers who've been able to be released most recently. And I do want to express my condolences to Spencer's family. We acknowledge that loss. I want to emphasize, our goal is to be transparent in this work. Our goal is to hold ourselves accountable for how we operate in this space. And you can see by the partnership we have up here to do that. We want to make sure that we have a thorough investigation and avoid prejudice as we go through. We acknowledge the concerns of the community and the anger that's sparked by a short video that was put online most recently. The dangerous rumors that come from that, the untruths that come from that are difficult to deal with. And so we're working hard to disprove those rumors. We have a crime strategy. Oftentimes, constantly we're asked to deal with the violence in this city. And constantly my responsibility as the commissioner of this police department and the men and women who work for me to ask them to go into some of the most dangerous areas of the city. We have 10 districts in the city who represent almost 80% of our violence. Where this incident happened is one of our primary districts that has a significant level of violence. In that particular area where those officers are working is one of the most violent pockets in our area, almost 15 times the violence that we see in other areas of the city. But just to give you a snapshot over the last 3 years of what happens in those areas where the officers are working, particularly where this incident happened, 5 homicides occurred in that area over the last 3 years. 17 non-fatal victims were shot, 1 juvenile and someone over 60, 23 robberies, 62 aggravated assaults, 225 narcotics arrests, and 14 illegal guns within 750 feet of the location. The officers were out doing a security check of that property and also looking for a shooter of an active warrant. As part of their senses, when they entered the property, one of the bystanders apparently said something that alerted the group, and that often heightened the officer's presence. But I want to be clarified, as you go through the video, you will see that the officers' guns are holstered at the time when my officer is shot. Their guns are holstered, and only after being shot do they take their weapon out. I want to emphasize the investigation, as I said before, is ongoing and limited. I reiterate that the officers involved have been placed on administrative duty as per protocol. And I assure the public, through our work and through this investigation, a thorough investigation will be conducted. I do appeal to the community. Be patient in these investigations. We are working diligently, but it will take time. I encourage everyone who has information on the individual who fled, who took the gun, and we're thankful for the FOP to put forth an award that anyone who has information on where that individual may have gone, that you share that information with us. But I will continue to emphasize, we are the department that will be transparent. We will be a partner that will work to service our community, both in our crime areas and across the city of Philadelphia. We will continue to lean forward in our work and we continue to support our men and women in these regards.
The commissioner is absolutely right that we are at the very beginning of an independent investigation in the district attorney's office. It is our obligation when there's an officer-involved shooting to go to the scene and to investigate it and to do so thoroughly. The truth has inherent value. The truth has to come out. That requires transparency. But timing is also important, because if we do not lift up this video so that people can see what it shows, then what we have is the opportunity for people to invent their own narratives. And that can be dangerous. I am delighted that we have the opportunity here to dig deeply, to get at the truth, and I will be in a position to speak in more detail, probably within about 90 days or so, about what the truth is. The reality is we may agree with interpretations of the Philadelphia Police Department completely. We may agree with them partially, or we may not agree with them. But today is not the day for that. Today is the day for transparency. Today is the day for the public to see the truth about what it is that is visible and occurred inside of a store. And today is the day to understand the limitations of all of that. We will have a lot more to say when we have all the information. We are trying to be fair. We are trying to be fair to the officers involved. We are trying to be fair to various bystanders who were in the store. We are trying to be fair to the Spencer family, and the only way to do that right is to get all the facts before we in the district attorney's office claim we know what happened. We want all the facts, and we intend, regardless of the consequences, to try to do the right thing.
Alexander Spencer, affectionately known as Dot by those in his neighborhood, was a familiar face at Jennifer Tavern, which the local community fondly referred to as the Deli. Amidst an area troubled by crime and drug activities, the Deli served as a sanctuary for Dot and his friends. It was the venue for celebratory birthday gatherings and viewing Eagles games on Sundays, where Dot would generously provide drinks and meals for friends and those in need, showcasing his spirit of kindness. Despite his history of arrest, with the most recent one in October for carrying an illegal gun, Dot was on a path to better his circumstances. His friend, Azaid Wilson, 30 years old, witnessed Dot's efforts to improve his financial health, aiding him in building his credit score and formulating a plan for economic security. Dot's aspiration for a stable future were evident, reflecting his determination to change his life's direction.
The person accused of taking a gun from a North Philadelphia crime scene has been arrested. Police say 42-year-old Jose Quinones Mendez was inside of a corner store on Mascher Street last week when an altercation occurred between two police officers and 28-year-old Alexander Spencer. Spencer and one of the officers were shot. Quinones Mendez was taken into custody earlier tonight in Center City.
I saw a lot of cops running down real fast. I've never seen so many people running that fast, and in that kind of it was like a whole herd, probably 50, maybe 60.
Quinones Mendez is being charged with obstruction of justice and tampering with evidence.
This situation ultimately ended up taking the life of Dot, or Alexander Spencer. So, when the stated goal of stop and frisk is to save lives, this practice in theory sounds like it will keep the streets safe, but ultimately might be counterproductive. Please, let me know about this messy situation and what you think in the comments. I'm going to leave it there for now. Thanks for watching American Confidential, and until next time, be safe.